I'm Mike, and today we're going to look at a new diet study out of New Zealand where participants were told to eat as much as they want, not told to increase their exercise, and they lost an average of 25 pounds in 6 months. Here's the study published a little over a week ago in the peer-reviewed journal Nutrition and Diabetes, which is under the umbrella of the journal Nature. They call it the broad study, though I think it should have been called the thin study. Ayo! Lameness personified. So what did they eat? They ate a whole food vegan diet modeled after previous studies by McDougall and Dr. Esselstyn, which I've covered many times. So some unrestricted, delicious whole plant foods with some B12 for the road. Now, to be clear, the actual intervention period was only about 3 months, and then they came back for measurements 6 months and 12 months later. As the study summed up, quote, "To the best of our knowledge, this research has achieved greater weight loss at 6 and 12 months than any other trial that does not limit energy intake or mandate regular exercise." Okay, but it's still probably a tiny amount of weight loss when compared to those caloric restriction and low carb diets, right? Nope, this was actually comparable to bariatric surgery or literally tying off sections of your stomach. These people were losing an average of 4 pounds a month for 6 months. That's how much obese keto patients lost in this study. And other keto studies have demonstrated 3,000 times the normal rate of kidney stones in children, among other crazy adverse effects like enlarged hearts in children. None of those crazy adverse effects here, just 4 inches off their waist, and they kept it off at the end of a year, which is very different from many of these weight loss studies. So how did they lose so much weight if they were allowed to eat as much as they want? It simply comes down to how whole plant foods prevent you from overeating because of their high fiber content. As the study put it, quote, "The mechanism for this is likely the reduction in energy density of the food consumed, lower fat, higher water, and fiber." Another interesting effect was on medication. They dropped their total medication usage by about 1/3, which if extrapolated to the US where I live, that would be saving the US citizens about $100 billion a year. And that's according to this government document, and it would cost Canada about $300 million in lost sales to US citizens trying to save money by buying drugs on the internet. Other benefits include improvements in diabetes markers, increased quality of life, and self-esteem without a loss of food enjoyment or increase in cost, despite myths about vegan diets being expensive. I think the self-esteem point here is huge because people were able to feel better about themselves, presumably largely because of the weight loss, without any of these adverse effects or being pushed toward disordered eating from restricting calories. In fact, this self-esteem point might be the most novel discovery here that hasn't really been covered in other whole food vegan diet studies. It's new. And now to one of those more well-studied benefits, that drop in cholesterol during that first intervention period over 12 weeks. They saw a 20 milligram drop in total cholesterol and a 45 milligram drop in LDL or bad cholesterol. But since after that 12-week period, people were largely on their own for 9 months, you can see that cholesterol creeping back a little bit, and it's amazing that people didn't just fully go off the diet and have it just explode back upward. That being said, they still had an amazing compliance rate in that 12-week period. Compliance was kind of uniquely successful because when they saw how good the people were doing on the intervention diet, ethically, they kind of had to tell the control group what was going on and give them the option, and then half of the control group ended up going on the diet. I think that's unprecedented. So how did they get that 12-week compliance? Well, they had chefs come in and teach people how to cook, they had doctors give presentations, and they sort of gave some unique rewards and created a sense of community. They washed forks over knives, they had discussion sessions, they got restaurants to make them whole food meals, they had potlucks, and they gave out vouchers. So they definitely figured out a good system, and I think we're going to see this replicated in the future with similar studies. Now quickly, I want to look at the conflicts of interest because I know people will point to this and try and discredit this study, but it's pretty clear that all of the potentially profitable endeavors, like 2 Zesty Bananas Ltd, pretty amazing, were started after the intervention. So it looks like the study inspired people to start projects, which makes complete sense because when you see results like this, you kind of have to want to do something about it. Another criticism of the study is that because it was done in Gisborne, which the study describes as a low socioeconomic area, that the results, the transformation was more dramatic, so the results were skewed. But I would have to say, most of the world has a low socioeconomic status, so this is more relevant to planet Earth. So I don't think this is any more of a flaw than any other study on any other group of people. Finally, this study is free to view. Yes, so if you want, you can take a closer look at the study and maybe learn a little bit more about the numbers and the methodology. In the end, this really is a landmark study. It's comparable to bariatric surgery where they band off a section of your stomach. It's also comparable to keto diets where they just take obese patients and people kept the weight off, all while not having the same risks that these other methods do. On top of that, the intervention period saw some amazing results in terms of things like cholesterol. We also saw that it didn't cost more, and finally, that it improved people's self-esteem, which I think is massive. All right, quick update about PlantSpace. We now have 2,000 members, so thank you so much for joining that community. If you haven't, feel free to go over, check it out. And we just added a messaging feature a bit ago, which is awesome. I forgot to mention in the last video, so you can try that out. All right, that's all for today. Feel free to like the video, subscribe, slap that notification bell, and I will see you next time.